Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of E-commerce Mastery. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, and today we have the honor of speaking with Mr. Michael Stone. How you doing today, Michael?
Good. How are you doing, Ben?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. And I'm so excited because we are going to be talking about today the future of print on demand. And let me tell you, folks, Michael has an insight into this industry that very, very, very few people have, working with some of the world's largest print on demand companies. But I don't want to ruin the story. I want to hear it from you, Michael. So I would love to hear your story. What is it? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So for Alexander's, our background, it's pretty interesting, right? I mean, a lot of whenever people are like, "Oh, what do you do?" I was like, "Oh, I have a print company." They're like, "Oh, you work at Kinko's?" I'm like, "No." um, it's more of okay. We're actually you could premise it like we're a software company, but we're not a software company that works with end users. And so, um, probably 7 years ago, we made a real commitment to technology where we started to expand our development team and bring on a lot of programmers so that way we can work with e-commerce companies um, and print on demand software where we actually can process everything on the back end. So we set up the APIs, we set up the production, we set up the product specifications, everything like that, help people build their catalogs, and then we help them go to market. But the nice thing is their clients have no idea that we exist, and so that's really been our secret sauce. And in brief, our story is we found a space where so many people are focusing on making technology look sexy, but not so much the functionality. And so for us, we said, okay, we don't care about the sexy because we're production. Let's just work on the functionality, the production, the output, and go from there. And so you could call us the Duff because we're all with the sexy people, but we're the designated ugly fat friend that nobody cares to know about, but we're important.
That's amazing. So when you made that commitment to technology and you started going down that path, how far did that take you? Like how integrated into the industry have you really become?
So it's completely changed our business, right? Like we went from okay, we kind of know what's going to come in every month and what products we produce and people we work with to we can predict month to month the type of volume we're going to produce, the type of product we're going to produce. And it's what it's done is it's taken us from a local business where people know who we are to they walk in and say, hey, I need this, I need that, or whatever it is for their business, to working with companies in Latvia and to New Zealand, you know all over the world, where we're able to be a global player in the print on demand industry. But people who close to us have no idea who we are, how big the company is, or anything like that. And so it's kind of nice because we've got Silicon Slopes that just up the road from us. And people are like, oh, you got all these VC companies with millions of dollars. I'm like, yeah, we've been around for 41 years, and you guys have no idea who we are. So it's kind of nice, but at the same time, it's interesting because we have to introduce ourselves.
That is such an interesting space to be the background player who's working with the top brands in the industry, but people just don't know. Like, can you share a little bit? And I'm not sure if you can because of
Yeah,
confidentiality and
right.
privacy and whatnot. But can you share just to give us a scope of some of the brands that you're working with and the really the level at which y'all are playing?
Yeah. So to kind of give you an idea, I won't share any client names, but if you've used a mobile app to order a photo book, there's a really high chance that we've produced it and it came from our plant. Or if you used a e-commerce engine to order a personalized storybook where you can put your child in the story and it's their avatar, and it's a book about a dad and a son or siblings or whatever, it's going to come from us. Or if it's going to be a print set of photos, or even wedding invitations, bar mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs, everything like that. Like there's a very high possibility it's coming from our plant.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I love that. I love that. And I love the perspective that you have into the industry because you're seeing the back end. You are the back end for a huge majority of the print on demand industry. And I feel like that gives you a unique vantage point that very, very few other people have. So, that
Yeah.
being said, that's why I'm so excited to talk about the future of print on demand. And I would love to hear your take on what that future will look like and what's what is the future going to be.
Right. Lately what we've been seeing is because everything's becoming so much of a commodity, right? Is how can we help our clients personalize something where they keep it long enough to value it, but at one point if they lose it or they throw it away or whatever, they come back and they buy another one. So that's the real tricky part is we want the person to it's a throwaway but not throwaway item, right? So a good case study you could say is we have one client where they do it's for Christians, and what they do is they create these personalized journals or notebooks where they take a scripture out of the Bible, put the person's name in it, and so they can journal, but eventually that's going to become full, and so they're going to come back and order another one. Or we have some where they do like a photo book subscription, where once they take X number of photos, it automatically prints a book and sends it to them. And so for us, we've really been able to help our clients, and we're continually working on, okay, your product is borderline commodity, but let's personalize it enough so there's value in there and the person is willing to pay a premium for it, but at the point where they'll come back and buy it again. But we're also starting to see uh, new products and really quite interesting things. When we were talking earlier, um, one of the things that has been extremely interesting lately is we started working with a company in New Zealand, and it's just an off the wall idea, right? That it's just a notebook and it has sayings like, you know, my meetings that could have been emails, or my list of bodies I buried in the woods, or people I need to tell to F off, or ideas I had while sitting on the toilet, or, what I did while I was drinking wine, just dumb things. And they're not even personalized, but they're just funny, lighthearted things. And they have a really high order value. A lot of times people are like, okay, well, it's just one or two items. These guys are averaging 4 or 5 items per transaction. And so it's just, for us, it's really trying to innovate on, okay, this product's here, what can we do to change it, or what can we do to enhance it or produce a product. So as far as future goes, um, it's really just what can continue to kind of flutter on that line of it's personalized but still commodity, because for us we're not commodity, and we're not going to be the high value where we want to have one transaction of $100 or something like that. We want lots of transactions within the tens of dollars.
That makes a lot of sense. And I love what you were saying about how we want to make our products personal enough to where they have value and people are going to purchase them, and they get out of the commodity space, but not something that's going to last so long that they don't buy on a somewhat frequent basis.
Right.
And understanding that sweet spot of margins as well, that is so, so powerful. And I'm curious, how do you go about when you're seeing these trends? How do you go about analyzing them, or understanding them, or breaking them down
Right.
to understand, is this just a right now thing, or is this where the market is really moving?
Yeah. So for me and my team, we spend a lot of time doing research. So with our development team, we've developed and we continue to develop reporting processes where we can pull all of the products that we produce for our clients and say, okay, this is the top 90%. These are the bottom 10%. Let's get rid of this and just really focus here. So the very first thing that we do is we take our clients' products, and we try and make them as similar as possible. So when it flows through production, the actual product specs are the same. So, for example, if we're going to produce a book, we want it to be the same size and the same paper type. Now, it can have any type number of pages, and every single one of these books can be different, right? So, we can do a run of 3,000 books, and each one of those books is going to be different and go to 3,000 different locations. And so, when we have a product like that, you can have millions of SKUs, and it doesn't matter for us. And so, you can say, okay, if you're going to take that, then you can have your long tail and just really hammer out in just product variation or design variation. So we have that. And then number two is we say, okay, you have products A, B, C. Well, product A sells this percent. And then if we've been working with them long enough, we can pull up year over year over year and say, you know what, this product sucks between January and October. We're going to completely shut this off. If you send it to us, we're not going to produce it. But come October for Christmas and holidays and for peak for print on demand, let's turn that on and just go balls to the wall and just freaking kill it. But then the rest of the year, let's shut it off. Or we say, hey, this is going to be really push it over the edge. Or hey, this might be a complimentary order to get the client to spend a little bit more per order. And so we'll run those analytics internally. And really pull that data. So it's interesting, right? We have somewhere it's a hit, and then we have somewhere it's consistent year over year, month over month, and just very predictable volume, and some that it just jumps up exponentially come peak seasons.
So it sounds like you're really looking at the data and at sales volume, and you're trying to understand based on what this product has done previously, this is what we can expect moving forward.
Right. Absolutely. And I feel like what we've done as well from client to client is, one, we're able to maintain confidentiality, but we're also able to somewhat generalize ideas where we can say, hey, we actually see people selling a ton of X product, but it doesn't quite fit you. So what can we do to modify this product for your market, where one, it fits our production and our efficiency, so you can get a killer price and have good margins, but two, you're going to sell a lot of it. And so we feel like we've done a really good job of finding that spot and saying, okay, let's a good example of this, right? The COVID stuff happened. And one of our big clients does wedding invitations, holiday cards, but wedding invitations is their biggest part of their business. Well, wedding season is like April through June. It's just bonkers. And because of the coronavirus, they're like, well, we can't have weddings because we can't have gatherings. We can't do this. We can't do that. So people are like, well, I'm going to postpone my wedding for a year. So this client comes to us in a panic, and they say, hey, what do we do? Like, our business has been thriving for years and years and years, and this is our busy season, and all of a sudden we're dead. And so we start looking at different products that can fit that market that they're in and fit that group. We say, okay, this is the user that you have. They are also interested into X, Y, Z, but you're not producing those. Let's go ahead and throw those in so that way you can retain that client value. And then when weddings come back, your volume can jump back up.
So it seems like with that particular type of business that's very seasonal, the off season is still ripe with opportunity because
Yeah.
we just need to get more in tune with our customer. And it seems like a recurring theme here has also been balance of making sure the product is personal enough, but it's not too expensive to produce. So we keep a healthy margin.
Right.
And then we
Right.
want to make sure that it's commodit commoditized. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enough to where we can really mass produce these efficiently, but we want to make sure that it's valuable enough to where they stick with us and they don't go
Yeah.
elsewhere
Exactly.
for another
Exactly.
commodity. So what do you think is the balance here between really honing in on the customer, taking the Amazon approach of being customer obsessed, but then also making sure to pad your margins, keep your profit high enough, make sure that you're standardizing and systematizing and really balancing those two things in that way.
Right. So I would say like being able to get your customer to agree to share their data, which from our perspective, it's getting more and more difficult. We don't in the United States we don't have GDPR. We work with clients in the European Union, UK that do have GDPR. But however, there's a company that we do work with, and they're working on technology. And if their customers allow them, it will, for example, it's a photo company. It will geotag every single one of their photos. And so what it will do is it'll know, like if you go on vacation to Florida or to Hawaii or something like that, and you geotag all those pictures and you come back and you take another picture at your home, it'll send you a notification say, hey, Ben, we noticed you're on vacation in Hawaii. We've compiled a photo album for you. Why don't you check it out? It's already compiled. So it's using AI, everything like that, compiles it and says, hey, here's a product. Do you want to buy it? And so that way it's really personalized, but then, and going off of what the customer just experienced. Um, and so being customer centric I feel is being able to get the customer to allow you to see their data. For me, I'm in an interesting spot because I'm like, yeah, I'll share some data with you, but when it comes to XYZ, absolutely no way. I'm never going to share that with you. But this information, sure, government probably has it on their deep archives anyways. So, go ahead, you can have this. I don't care. you know, um, so I think that's the key, is being able to really have that data, but also be transparent enough with your customer saying, hey, you have two options here. You can just have our one product that you come in, you buy, you do all the work. That's fine. But if you're willing to share X, Y, and Z with us, we can take this product and turn it into so much better because we can do all the work for you. We can personalize it. We can make suggestions based on, previous transactions or, other products that you like that aren't even from our company. If you're willing to share with us, we're willing to do this for you. So it's a give and take, but I think a lot of it lies in the data.
I think it's a really powerful idea of involving the customer in the product creation journey, because or the product creation
Yeah.
experience rather, because the more transparent you are with them and they see how you're using their data to help them, they'd probably be willing to give you more data. And
Yeah.
it seems like as we're moving forward in the world, whoever has the most data is going to have a leg up. I mean, if you have more information and you can make better decisions than your competitors, you have a huge advantage. Doesn't mean you're
Right.
instantly going to win, but you have a better chance of doing so with that
Right.
data. So it seems like involving them in that process would be a really interesting way to empower them to give you more data in a way.
Yeah, and lately I've been thinking actually a lot about that because with everything going on with the social media censoring, depending on what party you affiliate with, there's censoring going on, or there's a DuckDuckGo that says, hey, we're not gonna keep any of your information. You can choose X, Y, and Z, or there's VPNs because you know these internet companies are going to start saying, hey, you're not using our service, so we're going to charge you more if you're going to use Netflix over Peacock or whatever it's going to be. And so people are using VPNs and they're hiding more and more of their data because they're just assuming, hey, you're going to steal my data, you're just going to take it, so I'm going to hide it. But I feel like if you're to go somewhere and say, hey, we want your data because of X, Y, and Z, this is the value that comes, and you're just super straightforward, uh, you know, yeah, you'll probably have people that say, no, I'm good. I don't want you to have any of my information. But you're going to have your top clients, your most valuable dollar clients say, yeah, I really like your product. I'm going to share with you, my birthday, my kid's birthday. I'm going to share with you my address. I'm going to share with you where I live so you know what season I'm in and X, Y, and whatever type of information you want. And then you can really dive in, build the software to analyze that data, make the product recommendations, and personalize whatever the print on demand product is going to be.
So a lot of what we've been talking about, it seems like this is pretty, maybe not super advanced, but I feel like it's a bit past a beginner stage of building software to really collect data in a very efficient way. So if we could take a step back and help the beginners, people in the beginning of their e-commerce
Mm-hmm.
journey, get up to that point, they probably know that they need to be gathering data at this point. They definitely are still trying to build up a big enough customer base and really get some cash flow in the door. How do we help connect those two things of at what point in the journey do you take a more data centric approach, and how do you start incorporating that and laying the foundations so that when you get to a higher level you're not starting from scratch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because it can be tricky, right? I mean, you're trying to get a market share where there's so much already taken. So one, I think it's going to be uh, finding a really good niche, right? So um, my wife recently has been experimenting with wrapping paper, and so it's just a sheet of wrapping paper, but she's been trying for years to try and get some sort of volume and things going, and she finally figured out what her user base wants. And strangely enough, it's just the weirdest, most themed wrapping paper, but it's super niche, right? And so I think what you've got to do is really focus in and say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to commit to, rather than saying, hey, I want to start this type of an e-commerce business, and I'm going to turn on XYZ product and just hope that I get something. I think it takes, when you're getting into it, is a commitment saying, hey, I'm super passionate about this product. I'm going to go in and say, okay, my wife in wrapping paper, how can I get people to buy this year round rather than just around the holidays? And she's been up, just this year so far, she's been up over 1,000% from last year, just month over month.
Wow.
It's incredible because she's found a way to say, oh, hey, you're searching for, a baby shower. Her ad pops up, and so it's getting people in that are looking for super niche things and providing a solution that they're like, oh, I do need that, but that never would have crossed my mind if you didn't tell me. So they're looking for, a baby shower gift or a bridal shower, or it's a birthday party or whatever. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I didn't know I could get wrapping paper with Harry Potter designs on it. Or, hey, I didn't realize you could get wrapping paper with big juicy lips on it. Like just like crazy stuff. And so I think um, the two things that I can think on is what's super niche that you're passionate about and trying to get to work, and what are people looking for that they don't know? What do people not know that they need? That's an easy product to just say, hey, you're actually getting this, but this is a good complement to this product. Or, hey, this is actually fitting what you're looking for better, and filling that blank that they don't know that they need.
That sounds very similar to Ford's way of seeing that people were using horses to get around everywhere and making cars on a little bit smaller of a level here.
Yeah.
That that's a really interesting way to go about it. So when you're doing that research and identifying what these really specific needs are, and then understanding those needs and the nuance of the need, and then introducing products to solve problems that maybe they didn't realize was the underlying issue of that need, or maybe it's just a totally different approach to solving that. So it's new and fresh and exciting for them. How do you go about deciding, okay, I'm going to go for this one in particular, or I'm going to go for that one in particular? Or is it just experiment until you get it?
I think there's a few different approaches that you can take, right? Depending on your personality and what you want to do. I think there's the one of, hey, let's throw up 100 products for example, for a certain period of time. Whatever's going to be the number one product or whatever's the biggest category, let's just hone in on that, throw everything to the side and just go. Or there's ones where you do your research and you say, hey, this doesn't make sense. Like, why isn't there a product here? Like, there's a gap. And really building a product and helping people understand why that's a good need or good fit for their need, and just go with the marketing. Because I think from my perspective lately, what we've been seeing is a lot of our e-commerce clients have been playing on emotion as well. Not so much on practicality, but on emotion. So for example, kind of going back to a company I mentioned earlier, it's this company, they do personalized children's books. And around Father's Day, they just made a ton of social media videos saying, for example, one of my favorite ones that they made was, I just dug a hole for my pool, but I haven't filled it up yet. I'm waiting for Father's Day because I just got this book for my husband and he's going to fill it with his tears, or something like that. Like just, and they just go with their marketing, and just pulling on heartstrings or whatever, they make somebody laugh or just any type of emotion and make it an emotional purchase. And just so boom. And then they get them signed up, they get them on their list, and then they slowly start tracking them through the customer life cycle, the data and things like that. So I think there's those two different approaches.
I love that. I love the creativity of people and the marketing and the messages. And that is hilarious with the Father's Day pool
Yeah.
scenario. That was so funny. I love that. So I do want to thank you very, very much, Michael, for coming on the show and for sharing the insights that you've garnered over years and years of experience and giving us a snapshot into what's working, what's not working, and what is to come, and how to really position ourselves. And gave a lot of really, really interesting examples of ways that we can differentiate and position ourselves to really be successful with print on demand moving forward. So I want to very much thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks
And
for having me.
yeah, it's been a real pleasure. And I would ask that you maybe share where people can connect with you and learn more about your journey and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm super active on LinkedIn. If people want to find me on LinkedIn, just Michael Stone under Alexander's, or the URL is linkedin.com/automated print. And then our website as well as alexanders.com.
Amazing. So, Michael, again, thank you very, very much to everybody who's watching and listening. I want to thank y'all very, very much. And I will see everybody on the next episode.